Today, even though this series of talks are titled as My Vision of Theatre, but I'm sorry, I'm not a visionary. I'm still a student of theatre, mainly teaching theatre activities and directing plays. So, what I'm going to share with you is not any vision that I have. I absolutely don't have any such illusion. Uh, but as a student of theatre, working here in more than 4 decades, in several languages and in several styles of acting, so I would prefer to talk my experience in that area, in those areas, and probably at the end of the talk, we can have a question and answer session. Hmm. Yeah. You see, let me start with actors training. Since I have been a teacher for the last 4 decades, teaching students the dramatic literature and acting theories and taking them on to do those plays practically. So, my indulgence in performance making, the new ideas that have come, the tradition that we have inherited uh, are going to be main focus of my talk today, because there are not many people uh, who will tell us uh, the systems of acting, systems of training actors, the methodology of training actors. Unlike in the West, in the European, European and North American schools of acting, they all been in 17th, 18th, 19th century. Though we all know that the Stanislavski as one of the important contributors to the system of training. It started a bit earlier, but we are fortunate. We are fortunate that our systems of acting, performance theory and performance manual, is quite old. We were not, we have not inherited the tradition continuously. It's not an unbroken tradition. It has been broken in between from 11th, 12th century onwards. The first 10 centuries, there was a very, very well articulated system of actor training, which many people do not know, which many people, even among Indian theatre community, there are only very few people who will talk about it. Training, though, it's impossible until you have a very, very strong hold in the area of preparing the actor's body, training it continuously. It is not a course which ends in a 3 year, 2 year course. The Sishyas, the disciples, go to the Guru and they learn acting as the on the job training. They learn acting and very well established systems of acting and training system was there in our tradition. Though the West woke up to such a the West confronted such a thing very late. I'm now talking about the oldest living form of theatre, which is not the psychological realism based place, but it is an extremely codified systems of acting. An actor has to work continuously for many years to learn from the Guru. It is taught according to a text, even though the text is not uh, 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 every time referred to or read, but the what the text insists on the stylized codified acting is followed. That is why I say Natya Shastra is more practiced than read. If you go to any of the folk artists like Telugu and very old folk theatre forms, If you go and ask them, have you heard about Natya Shastra? They will say no. But the kind of acting they do, the performances that we see, is based on the principles of Natya Shastra. If you look at the text carefully, unfortunately, the text is in Sanskrit, and we have access to read them only in the translations, and then very few gurus who can authoritatively speak about it. The Shastra, Natya Shastra, has 36 chapters, 6,000 verses. There are 6,000 karikas in that thing, small. So it cannot be read like we read the Western theories. You can't read them. They are slokas, karikas, which has to be taught by a guru along with the Shishya. They together learn. The system of imparting training is so rigid and with great amount of rigor in techniques, and both Angikam and Vachikam were taught to students who stays with the guru, and sometimes I was told they get trained till the age of 40, and then they come up with performer like art forms like Kudiyattam or Kathakali. They're extremely stylized, and the place that they performed or Sanskrit place in Sanskrit, a stylized way of uttering Sanskrit slokas in Kudiyattam style. So it's still prevalent, it's still happening. Every day it's happening in Tirumudi, for example. So the support from cultural establishments to revive those forms and make it part of actor training. Like we in National School of Drama invite the Kudiyattam gurus to teach students systematically for over a period of 6 months, and then they go in for Sanskrit play production. What is so important? What is so so special in that kind of form? Name any major theatre director in the world. They have spent considerable time in deciphering stylized acting preserved in India even now in forms like Kudiyattam, Kathakali, Ankyanat. All over the country we have traditional theatre form, Parambarik Natyakala. They were practiced by in some parts of the world, country, by one particular community that is passed on from generation to generation. They were context specific. Only recently it has become context free. Everybody interested in learning stylized acting can take admission in schools, and you get proper training. So coming back to this text, you see, we all know that after independence, this question of identity, Indian identity, was disturbing many of our senior theatre directors. People have Shakespeare, people have Molière, people have major playwrights and traditions in Europe and other parts. When we were ruled by the British Raj for 200 years, we were only copying from the West. The so-called psychological realism that we even now follow is based on Stanislavski's method. Now, what happened was, all major theatre directors realized the realistic style is not adequate to bring out the complexities of dilemma in life, predicaments. They really felt there is somewhere this system of realism is inadequate. So they turn towards East, go and study thoroughly, either in the Kathakali school or in a Kudiyattam school or in Ankyanat school. They were attracted to, like Sekner was attracted by Ramlila. They carefully went and studied the systems of actor training that is there, passed on from generation to generation, both in the folk style, what we call as traditional theatre styles, largely confined to rural areas. They are not as popular as the urban theatre companies are, but they preserved a system, they preserved a tradition, they preserved the performance making and the major plays based mainly on Mahabharata and Ramayana. But there are a lot of changes in their performance text. So they even today are part of rural life. It is not that as though we go and buy a ticket and then sit and watch the productions. It is not such buy and selling relationship. If you go and see in a village how the traditional theatre is performed, invariably the theatre performances are post harvest when the agriculture is comparatively free, and then it also coincides with certain pujas to be celebrated by the whole village to the goddess. So it is often in the temple courtyard or mohallas or chaurahas near temple is the performance venue. There is no stage separately. With the help of hand curtain, the backdrop, they manage the show in a village. But within that simple devices, they have invented ways and methods of communicating the dilemma. Like for example, the two world wars brought in a lot of change in the lifestyle of most Western countries, East European countries. They've all undergone a tremendous stress, anguish, the war and its effects on lives and people, the families. Families no longer, as we in our part of the world, the attachment, it was all lacking. So it was that period this theatre of the absurd came in. So the dramatic structure is not independent of the problems faced by the society in which these forms are practiced. Sometimes we may not be able to decipher it, but people who have undergone that suffering, for them it is clear what the text is talking about. The text is waiting for somebody to come and find out, discover several meanings in it. The absurd theatre of the absurd, was once crazy. Everybody, when I was a student, I wanted to do all Ionesco's plays, all Janet's plays, all Pinter's plays. They look at the performance per se in a completely different way. You cannot be a Stanislavskian actor and then participate in such a production, because it is rather than life. It's a combination of many styles which were later formally introduced in schools and colleges. The other urge for the Indian theatre practitioners were in the field of institutionalizing the art, to bring in under an institutional care. Like Jawaharlal Nehru, first Prime Minister, established Sangeet Natak Academy, Lalit Kala Academy, and Sahitya Academy to extend the patronage to theatre groups. Earlier, they were done by the local kings or prabhus in the local areas. They are the patrons of the society. They not only understand the place much better than what the secular government officials today understand, they also thought, the entire society, they thought it is a kind of ritual that we offer to the gods. There is no rain, then they arrange these performances. If they think that the village is affected by some disease, they arrange a performance. So, interestingly, it is not just the performers who are putting up a show, the whole village is interested. Everyone has a role to play. Everyone has a role to play. everyone thinks that it is our theatre. You don't go and buy a ticket for 500 rupees and then sit and watch. This is a totally different thing that has happened in the west, in the urban areas. But in rural theatre, it is not like that. It is a whole village taking part in it. Sense of belonging of the form. They all take baths, wear purified clothes. There are certain rituals to be followed. Go to the temple. In the daytime they worship. In the afternoon they listen to Ramayana, Mahabharata episodes, and those episodes will be played in the night by the performers. So there's a well knit organizational structure uh, uh, for, for, for performing these festivals. It is known to the whole village that such and such date, such and such story will be played, and audiences, they go and spread the chatai and takia, reserve the places, and they watch. It starts at 9:30, 10 o'clock and goes till the next day morning, 5:30. So they in between take a nap, they go to sleep. But then the Sutradhara and Vidushak have been told to wake them up when certain important scenes are played. So he throws water on them and make them all to get up. If he fails to do that, next day morning he has to face them. He will beat him up. So watching a particular performance, a particular scene in Ramayana, Mahabharata stories is a kind of offering to the god. This is a very deep-rooted connection between the traditions that are prevailing at that time and still believed to be relevant to people. So our performance tradition is very, very tightly related, very, very closely related to religious dictums, religious demands, like festivals, carnivals, and other such community activities. I was part of Sangeet Natak Academy's establishment for some time. That time, I had the great opportunity of watching traditional theatre forms from Kashmir to Kanyakumari. Most of the states, all the states, they have a very interesting folk theatre form, Parambarik Natya Kala. In states like Kerala, there are plenty, not one. There are two, three. One may be. In other states, we have at least one or two theatre forms, which is still preserved by a group of people who have inherited that from their elders. It's amazing to see the similarities of these forms, and it is also amazing to see that they follow a principle of theatre that has influenced the entire country. Those days there were no national broadcasts or telecasts, Rashtriya Prasaran, but people exchange between one state and the other. It was very amazing the way the ancient Indian tradition and till medieval India, these performances survive even today. Now, if you take a larger picture of the state of affairs of the traditional theatre form, I often come across 2-3 words like Mela, Leela, Atta. These are in South Indian performance forms. Most of them are Atta, Bail Atta, Kudi Atta. Attam, Atta is play. This Mela, Leela, like Ras Leela, Ram Leela, Bhagavat Mela, these are the suffixes for those theatre forms, and I think we should go deep in analyzing and defining Atta. Atta comes from the etymological root Adu, means play. It's jumping, it's moving about. It's a movement art oriented. It is not someone coming and standing and talking to the audience. all the time, like in psychological realism and many modern theatre form. It has their role. I mean, it's not in any way belittle those traditions, but the variety that we see in traditional theatre forms, uh, and how those gurus train youngsters in a very informal setup, not like the institutionalized art forms. It's mainly because it is confined to several villages. They make a living out of performing the shows for the village audiences. There was a very well devised uh, social support for those artists. Today, the scenario is very different. The in the last in the last 5 6 months, from mid March to today, I have not done any rehearsals. I have not met my actors. There were no shows. Auditoriums are closed. So, what kind of theatre will you do? It's a great loss that it will take many months for us to recover from this, recover from this pandemic and its impact on rural and urban economy. We do not know what will happen. Now, I often tell my students, in fact, we have started an online class because we can't meet in a place. It won't be allowed during the COVID-19 days. So, what we do, we meet daily in the Zoom, net-aided classrooms. So my actors from their home, sitting in their home, listening to me daily 2 hours, towards evolving, towards generating a new performance based on the pandemic days, the lockdown experience. How it has affected every individual in a different way. I feel I'm shut inside the place. I can't get down, I can't go and see people. The roads are deserted. So this is something very psychologically very shattering thing that is happening, and we are trying to capture that moment which the pandemic period has made an impact on us. It need not be statistics, it need not be words. You can express your views through body and voice. You are the author for the text. You are the one who is deciding what kind of bodily expressions that you develop to create. And interestingly, it's a new experience, though we have to invent new methods of movement, new ways of articulating our body. This body, which is called psychophysical apparatus, is both a trained body and a body living in the modern world. The body that acquires skills and ways of representing structured movements, that body is called semiotic body. Semiotics is the study of science. There is this phenomenal body, a bodily being in this world now. So both these, skills, certain exercises, certain ways of producing effect on stage through your body and voice, these are all learned. They are more structured, like in Bharatanatyam or any other stylized form. They are more structured movements. Now, these structured movements we learn, our actors learn, and then it becomes part of their faculty, not independent of the other one, the phenomenal body. That body brings in several new things, several things that the body experienced, remembers, right? The insults or the praises, or the pain. These are all part of the phenomenal body. You walk in the field, you face problems in terms of articulating this experience. So this any any proper system of training that is to be offered to the modern actors, drawing upon the principles of folk theatre and the classical theatre. This integration is not taking place in the proper way it should take place. Actually. You see, when I said this Mela, Leela, Atam, and many such words I'm forgetting. All this involves, in one way or other, vigorous movement of the body, gestures. So, if we have to evolve, generate a new performance, you cannot do it on the text-based performances. You should come out of the text, or you discover new ways of presenting the text. This is the exercise that we are working at present. It's very difficult for us because we can't meet. We only talk over phone or see the internet images, and trying to create a performance mainly generated out of what we felt in the last 6 months. There is no income, there are no shows. Only if there are shows, we get paid very little, not much. Otherwise, we have to struggle. Many of my actors don't have smartphones with internet connections. They can't afford to spend money. See, if you see the young people who are hiring a small place in Lakshmi Nagar or East Delhi area for 3,000, 5,000 rupees, sharing and then coming and taking part in the rehearsals, their condition is very bad. Nobody seems to worry about it. And they are the people who, in spite of all the problems, economic problems that they face, continue to work in theatre. The kind of rehearsals that we do, where you need to do physical work a lot, the way the actor employs his body is very different from a peasant or an office square or a factory man using the body. It's something you lend the body to someone else in theatre. So how that someone else, the character that is playing, will react to in what situation. So it's an extremely interesting area, and also a very demanding professional skills and intelligence. Whenever I meet young people who are new to this kind of work, I tell them acting is possessing the text bodily. The body has the movement, energetic movement and voice. I'm not talking about language. When you get trained, physical training, acquiring skills, abilities to move, structure movements, added to that is the text. Text always hides something from something not shown in any form of explanation, commentary, or in translations of text. The text is waiting for an actor to come and explore the unexplored areas. If it is a dense text, like the text in Sanskrit plays, for example, they have multiple meanings. They talk in a metaphoric language. Now, when you play those texts, I mean, I've been teaching and directing Sanskrit plays for the last 2-3 decades. We have worked on major Sanskrit dramatists and their works. Uh, in such a place, dance and music are part of acting. You cannot have a traditional performance without the skills of a dancer musician. So, dance and music is an integral part of uh, most Indian traditional theatre forms, more specifically Sanskrit drama. It is not two characters sitting and talking. It involves vigorous movements to show the complexities in the text, to bring out the new meanings in the text. Like in literary theories, we read about reader response theory. The reader comes and completes the meaning of the text. In theatre, the text written by a playwright, the text performed by the audiences, performed by the players, and the text that is received by the audience. That is where it stops. Audience might draw new meanings out of the expression, out of the performance that is put up before them. We often experience this in playing Ramayana and Mahabharata plays. Suddenly something new, something which we have not seen, which we have not understood, something new opens up in a very very rigid, interesting rehearsals where the director is not happy with the way the text is brought out, but neither the director nor the actor knows what is more needed. It is discovered on the floor. When there are the musician, the lightsman, the choreographer, the director, we need to have a common wavelength to discover certain moments, even in realistic plays. Not necessarily stylized text. Even our realistic plays pose this kind of problem. So there is a need for discovering new ways of performing the text. Ready? So, in our journey towards claiming what is Indian style of acting, then we have Kalidasa's text Bhavabhuti, Vasa, whole lot of people until 10th century. We have an unbroken tradition. But later, when the political, cultural, social upheavals that took place post 11th century, so this tradition has been broken. In the independent India, the directors were looking at Sanskrit texts. Like the Britishers claim that Shakespeare is there, Shakespeare, Molière, many others. So in the post-independent India, it is the directors like Habib Tanveer, V.V. Karant, and many others. They wanted to do an Indian play. They wanted to discover what is Indianness in this. So that question led them to traditional theatre forms and their complexities. So first, Habib Tanveer produced Mrichagadikam as Mitti Ki Gadi, the Chhattisgarhi actors. It was an eye-opener for many directors who later tried these texts from the point of view of the performance traditions that they have inherited in their local groups, local states. So we have about 20-25 active forms under which you can even produce Shakespeare. For example, when I was asked to do Shakespeare Macbeth, I took my students to a village near Chennai. I invited the Terukuthu performers, the traditional art of traditional theatre of Tamil Nadu. They all came with their costume designer, musician, the actor trainer, and the actors themselves. About 10-15 people living together with the students of National School of Drama and the same venue for about 45 days. They take up text which can be rendered in the style of the traditional theatre form of that region. I have taken my boys twice there, my students twice there, first to produce Subramanya Bharati, the nationalist poet's long poem Anchali Shabadam. Anchali Shabadam was the first play that we produced by taking them all to the traditional performers and trying out a text like Subramanya Bharati's poem, epic poem, Panchali Shabadam, which is again a story from Mahabharata, the disrobing of Parvati, sorry, disrobing of the Shashan, and then fainting. The devices that those theatre forms have, Draupadi is placed in a pedestal and a handheld curtain in between. Dushasana pulling her sari in the outside the curtain. He does that with a movement and a song, and when he gets tired, the sari that he has pulled goes back again to a small boy sitting in behind the curtain. He rolls it back, and then again Dushasana tries. Again, when he's singing, that quietly that whole. So with one sari, the Dushasana can go on pulling for many 10, 15, 13 minutes, wherever he wants to stop. It gives the illusion that he is pulling out Draupadi's sari. Krishna might have saved in Mahabharata, but here the boy sitting behind the curtain is saving Draupadi. Such devices, very imaginative. The villagers can't afford to buy 10, 15 saris and they allow Dushasana to go on pulling it. And that is not theatre. That is not at all theatre. Theatre has to come up with devices to show the impossible, to show the invisible made visible. So, lots of theatrical devices of our rural artists, which has to be learned by anybody who claims to be an actor in India. Second production we did Shakespeare's Macbeth. Macbeth as a Telugu story. This Shakespeare is not somebody unknown to us. It's not foreigner at all. And this criticism was levelled against Utpal Dutt. Utpal Dutt said, Shakespeare is more a Bengali playwright than any other Bengali playwright. There are creative works which is not confined to a particular region. The creative works always appeal to people in other cultures, people coming from other things, if it is a classic. We have Sanskrit plays even now, even today, even though the active performance tradition of Natyasastra or the Sanskrit theatre slowly disappear. The complete text of Natyasastra, which is both performance theory as well as performance manual, preparing an actor, training an actor step by step, and then understanding the text. The Shastra talks about all aspects of playmaking, including playwriting. So this challenge before us, we do not want to do what the television serials do. Telling a story, characters sit in the drawing room, and all kinds of conflict taking place in the drawing room, where everybody can come, neighbor can come, somebody transfer. So we go for very text-based uh, uh, mm, productions managed by lifting the phone or smoking the cigarette. The actor finds a relief. We were used to this kind of film. It is very difficult to 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 to, to portray the dilemma that we undergo, the predicament, the the the, the anguish that we undergo. It cannot be effectively communicated. Now, when this tradition died, tradition disappeared or died in the 11th, 12th centuries, they started writing what is called Prakasana, a comic place like Bhagavad Gita and all that. From 13th, 14th centuries, it completely disappeared. Even though there was a Tika tradition, writing commentaries on the performance, original text, not Shastra. We have Abhinay Darpan, we have Dasarupa, lot of text which has come out of this, the original text of Natyashastra. We must read those commentaries. In fact, without the commentary written by Abhinav Bharati, Abhinav Gupta, we cannot decipher the original text of Natyashastra. Anybody who wants to undergo, who wants to understand the complex performance tradition prevailed in India, has to have read Natyashastra, commentaries, Sanskrit plays, and folk and classical traditions that we have in more music and dance, and the traditional paintings, sculptures in temples. The 108 Karanas described in Natyashastra can be seen in sculpture. So what is there in the text matches with the images there. Dr. Padma Subramaniam has done extensive work in reconstructing the charis and Karanas, 108 Karanas. Karanas is a basic movement. Combined several Karanas together make an Angahara. So there is enough evidence of such a great tradition of acting was flourishing in our country in the first 10 centuries, and there are evidences to that. The text matches with the sculpture you find in Chidambaram temple, Ajanta, Ellora, the Orissa Sun temple sculptures. You need to have an idea about how to present the bodies. The sculptures teach us, the sculptures explains the Shastra there in our text. So, a knowledge of all these 5 things that I talked about is important for any actor, director who wants to play the Sanskrit works. Unfortunately, that tradition not only disappeared, and there was a earlier the Maharajas used to support them, support patrons of this. Now in the new democratic setup, the cultural establishments of the state, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to deal with them, deal with the patronage to arts. When though there are multiple organizations at the national level, none of them can be relied upon. In a way, it did not replace royal patronage. Even though in terms of money, there are several organizations, cultural establishments, like oldest being Sangeethan Academy, Juvenile centers, state academies. If you put together the budget allocation of all these institutions, you will be surprised for a country like India, a very little amount is spent on the promotion of performing art forms. So, why I am talking about this, I want modern actors to develop an actors training method based on Natyashastra, folk theatre forms, and some classical dance forms. We should come together. In all my workshop, I invite a dancer to be part of it, a musician to be part of it. Because in Indian theatre, we don't exclude music and dance. Music and dance are integral parts of Sanskrit plays. For example, when I am stuck with certain scenes, how to construct it on stage, dance opened the gates. A dancer choreographer tells me how to solve this problem of a particular episode, which we have all been trained to speak and act in the realistic style. But the text is not that. Text is something totally different. So how will you match? How will you bring out the real meaning of the text in form? You one way of discovering movement is you take out a phrase, take out a few lines, important lines in the play, and try out how these lines can be acted upon. When we are working on Macbeth, there is one phrase, unsex me. Lady Macbeth says. We stopped and talked, what does it mean by unsex me? Duncan, the king, was murdered, was resembling Lady Macbeth's father. So she has problems in executing the murder. She insists on her husband to do that. At that point, she says, unsex me. We went about finding new ways of Lady Macbeth rendering this line. We spent the entire afternoon in that thing, and individual groups, they go to different places in the campus, try out for 1 hour, 2 hours, and then come back and show it to the entire cast. Then the cast evolves, the cast decide about one particular the combination of several techniques that we use. In my recent production of Pratima Natakam, I found the Lakshmana is very angry when Ram was denied the position of Ayodhya's king, and that should go to Bharata. Because of that, Ram has been asked to go to the forest, Vanavas. When this is communicated to Lakshmana, Rama's brother, he's very angry. He's very angry, and the descriptions are very interesting. It is not one Lakshmana, hundreds of Lakshmanas seen. Sita says this. He's very angry. How can this be done? The eldest son should be the inheritor of the kingdom. So that is denied to Ram. And on the top of it, Ram has to go to the forest. For how many years? 14 years. You know the line in Sanskrit play, Lakshmana says, he is very angry, and Ram says, why do you get angry? Because it's my brother who is going to rule, and I can go to the forest. And I'm willingly accepted it. Lakshmana says, it is not the denial of the kingdom, but you have to go to the forest for 14 years. That is what is bothering me. Use the Midawur drum when he comes with the 10-15 actors together, and when he says these words, dialogue of 14 years of Vanavas, the Sanskrit text, Chaturdasa Vane, Chaturdasa Vane, you have to be in the forest for 14 years. When Lakshmana says this Vani, this sound, creates so many meanings. And when you utter Chaturdasa Vane, when they speak, what kind of visual should be on the stage? Lakshmana himself is very angry, and his body says that. And when he says Chaturdasa Bane, it is repeated by Ram, it is repeated by Sita, it is repeated by the actors standing behind them and forming a forest. Ram is quite happy about it. He is not upset about he being asked to go to Vana, forest. We discovered in the production several new ways of when Bharata goes and carries the sandals of Rama, Paduka, and when going to the forest, they wear a cloth which is called Valkal. When we were discussing this in our talk, the Valkal is Khadi, and the Padukas that we get are Bapu, Mahatma Gandhi. Totally different ways of relating to people. Basa would not have thought about a person like Gandhi. So, the rehearsals, that is where it is born. The ideas that is there in many people, including the actor, designer, director, choreographer, they all wait for a pattern to emerge, which is not the usual way of getting angry and saying that 14 years you have to be in the forest. It's not acceptable to me. जितना भी गुस्से से बोले, it has its limitation. The Vana opens up when he says Chaturdasa Vana. And Chaturdasa, 14 years of forest life, gives different meanings to different people. When that is uttered, Rama receives it in a different way, Sita receives it in a different way. Every one of them. What is it that ultimately reaches the audience? That is where the performance is success, Siddhi. Similarly, when I did Agni or Barka by Girish Karnad, by the way, I must tell you, Girish Karnad, Chandrasekhar Kambar, Satish Alekar, these people, in their modern plays, they are a continuous tradition of playwriting in Sanskrit, especially the play Agnivarka, Fire and the Rain of Girish Karnad. There's a play within the play in that text. The performance takes place, which has deeper connections with the problem that the play is tackling. In the beginning, the Brahmins conduct a havan, a sacrifice, yajna, because there is no rain for 7-8 years. There is famine, so a yajna was conducted for many years. Girish Karnad simply says the Brahmins sit together and do this yajna. He doesn't explain the scene. But how are we going to show it on the stage? Of a set of people doing yajna, the presence of the king, the presence of the Purohit, the presence of the other people, Brahmins who were allowed to see that. Now, how will you go about it? One way of doing it is really bringing bricks and creating a Havan Kunda, and then lighting designers will create some kind of fire effect. These are all done. This is not what Girish Karnad intended. So we requested a Sanskrit teacher to come and teach the 10-15 lines from Rig Veda, which talks about people demanding rain to the Brahma. So for a 3-minute scene, we have to work every day with the Sanskrit text, reciting. When the recitation takes place, in my mind, the visuals are completely changing. I have to change the entire choreography, to change the entire ways of um, new gestures to create the, 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 the ghee poured on the Yagnakunda and the fire itself. There were no, it's an empty stage. The empty stage, by sitting arrangement, by the recitation of the Vedic lines, the stage is already gone up. The audience cannot, there is not a dull moment in that. You have to give your entire attention to that, what is happening on the stage. So, the performance is completely changed. It is not creating a Yagnakunda with real bricks and everything. It is not taking the help of a designer to create the fire. It's not at all. It's something that the actors evolved through their bodily gestures. If it is pouring the ghee or if it is creating the fire, the entire thing is done in gestures. No need to shift the properties and other things for the scene. It comes, it forms, and it evaporates. But then the kind of work that has undergone, that the actors have undergone, after reciting the Rigvedic lines for about a month, I found a demonstrable change in the voice of my actors. It has brought in a lot of people when the Vedic lines were recited. Many people who are the first floor, they come and say, "Kya ho raha hai? Something yajna ho raha hai?" It had that kind of a everyone who listens to these lines comes up with an image, and he ultimately sees that image on stage, powerfully working out in terms of communicating the intention of the playwright. I don't know what is the time. Time kitna hua? I was told that I can take questions at the end of the. Huh? Okay. Yeah. If there are any questions, maybe we can discuss that. And I would love to answer the questions. I could not read all the comments that are appearing. Oh, Sanjay Upadhyay is watching. I should have told you about Sanjay Upadhyay's Mrichakatika. He also later, when he was the director of the Madhya Pradesh School of Drama, he has unearthed a new text, got that translated, and contributed to the other plays that is there. This play was lesser known, and he did it in the Madhya Pradesh School of Drama. I'm glad Sanjay is joining. Suman Kumar, Balwant Thakur. I'm glad you all were there. And if there are no questions, maybe we call it a day. If there are any questions, I would love to answer them. Yeah, what I'm now thinking about, I'm responding to Balwant Thakur's note. Yes, a modern system of actor training integrating the principles of Natya Shastra from chapter 8 to 13. If you look at the chapter 8 to 13 in Natya Shastra, it talks about the possibilities of isolating each part of anga of your body, from head, from eyebrows, from eyes, from your lips, from your shoulders. It goes on systematically. There is nothing religious about it. There is nothing divine, God. It is a very, very important practical training that is given to an actor. Chapter 8 to 13 systematically goes about the various functions of hasta, abhinaya, and united and separated, the eyes. These are all basic principles of acting. I think we should try our level best to integrate that into the modern actors training. The important gestures, Balwant Thakur with the questions. What are the essential of Indian theatre? Yeah, we can go on go on endless talking about it, but I'll be very happy if any director or natakar or any serious theatre worker listening to me, if they initiate a modern system of training integrating the principles of Natya Shastra, I would love to help them in whatever way is possible. Should the actor always be the director's clay or try to lend his own touch to? He is totally free. An actor, that is very much important for me. Whenever I go to workshop or production, people are, oh, somebody has come from Delhi. First, you befriend your actors. They should have the freedom to talk to you in whatever that they want to talk. Only when the actor is free, the creative possibilities open up. If the actor is all the time under the impression that ये बताएंगे डायरेक्टर बताएंगे कहाँ पाँव कैसे रखना हाथ कैसे रखना, that is not the actor's thing. You see, I often tell my actors, ये अमेचूर ग्रुप्स के साथ जब काम करते थे तो वो पूछते थे सर हाथ पाँव कहाँ रखूँ, ऐसे अपने पास ही रखो, don't need to lend it to somebody, because हाथ पाँव कैसे रखना is possible in the text. You listen to the other character talking carefully, listening intensely. In the act of listening, the acting is born. In the act of listening intensely, what should be the volume of the word that, what are the important words that you should say? So your acting principles are indicated by the co-actors' lines. When you are intensely listening to that, automatically you lend your body to move and appropriate gestures are discovered. I never tell my actors how to do it. How to do it, he has to find out. And then I will reject whatever he does until and unless I find, yes, this works. We should have that kind of liberty in rehearsals. The actors are not puppets. Many of my plays for Aurangzeb, which is running about 12 years, all the important scenes which attract the audience are developed by my musician, lighting designer, actor, even though I take the credit of it. But it was not like that. It's a teamwork. So, no, the actor should not be always the director's clay. He's an independent thinking actor. He can differ with the director. There can be a interesting debate between the two. So, unfortunately, we in our system of play production and all, we don't allow the actor to freely express the differences. You may not agree with all the things that the actor says or the director says. There can be a kind of healthy discussion. Some of the best things that I have created are from my actors, not me. My actors come up with that. Though I claim the production is mine, the actor's contribution is immense in it, immense. We would love to invite you to Jammu. Yes, I would love to come and work there. From March to September, October, कोई काम नहीं थिएटर का. बहुत सारे वेबिनार, सेमिनार, talks, online talks are there, but unless and until you meet them physically, it's very difficult to do that. I would love to come to Jammu. Thank you very much.